Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible, and let's be honest, often controversial, career of one of hip-hop's most polarizing figures.
So you see these two pictures, right? On one side, we've got Joe Budden, the rapper, Grammy-nominated, top 10 album. The guy was set. And then you look at today, and he's this media mogul. People are calling him the Howard Stern of hip-hop. The big question is, how? How in the world does that happen? How does a rapper who is this close to superstardom just pivot and completely reinvent not only himself, but kind of the whole media game? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to understand this, we've got to go back to the early 2000s. You've got this super confident young rapper out of Jersey City, and to hear him tell it, he was, and I quote, on fire in the streets.
So, after a pretty rough youth, he starts channeling everything into a journal. That's where he really sharpens his skills, his raw talent. By 2001, he's making demos, and the buzz is it's undeniable. So much so that his stuff ends up with the mixtape king himself, DJ Clue. And once you've got that kind of street heat, the major labels, they can't look away. And pretty soon, boom, he's signed to the legendary Def Jam Records.
And his debut album, it shoots all the way up to number 8 on the Billboard 200. And it was all because of this one monster track, Pump It Up. Seriously, you could not get away from this song. It was everywhere. Movies, video games. It even got him a Grammy nod. Joe Budden wasn't just coming up anymore, he was here. But here's the thing. Even with all this success, all this hype, the pressure was already building. I mean, the guy was only 22, and he's saying that behind the scenes, the dream, it already felt like a job. And that feeling, that wasn't just, being tired. It was a sign of the absolute nightmare that was about to unfold.
Yeah? That pressure? It turned into basically a decade of being stuck. He found himself completely trapped in what he would later call a predatory business. And what came next was just a 10-year-long headache of label politics. Like first, the execs at Def Jam who actually believed in him, they leave. Then the new bosses come in. We're talking L.A. Reid, Jay-Z. And suddenly, Joe Budden just isn't a priority anymore. He's stuck. So he tries to get out of his deal, right? And that's when he finds out his own lawyer is also the label's lawyer. A huge conflict of interest. And then, the final straw. His contract gets sold off to another label, without him even knowing. So here he is, a huge star on the streets, on the mixtapes. But his official album career? Totally frozen.
And all of this whole mess, it cemented this core belief in his mind. The music industry wasn't just hard, it was a trap. It was a predatory system, literally designed for young artists to fail. And this wasn't just him being bitter. This became the philosophy, the absolute foundation for every single thing he would do from that moment forward.
So what do you do when your music career hits a wall like that? Well, Joe Budden refused to just disappear. He did the exact opposite. He started trying, everything.
And in this time, this total uncertainty, with his main career path just blocked, he's up against this huge question. When you're trying to stay relevant and you need a new plan, how do you know which idea is the good one and which one is the bad one?
His answer was pretty simple. You do them all. And he meant it. He just started throwing everything he could at the wall to see what would stick. From the outside, it probably looked like pure chaos. But every single move was designed to do one thing, keep people talking about Joe Budden.
I mean, think about it. He started dropping digital-only albums way before that was a normal thing to do. He went back to his roots as a lyricist, teaming up to form the supergroup Slaughterhouse and getting a whole new round of respect from critics. And then, and this was the one that made everyone's head spin, he jumped right into the chaos of reality TV on VH1's Lovin' Hip Hop.
Now, a lot of people thought reality TV would be the end of his credibility. But for him, it was actually a wake-up call. He said seeing his own what he called goofy behavior on TV was the first time he could actually step outside himself and see what other people saw, and that was the spark. That was the moment he knew he had to start planning for a life after rap.
And that new future? It was in broadcasting. A world he'd kind of played around in before, but this time he was ready to take it over. And most importantly, he was going to do it his way. So he starts a podcast in 2015. But the real game changer was his time on the complex show Everyday Struggle back in 2017. Man, that run was explosive. His raw, super confrontational style on that show,
It literally became the blueprint for every single hip-hop debate show you see today.
But after some very public, very messy splits, first with Complex and then later with Spotify, his mission became laser-focused on one thing: creator equity. He was not going to let what happened at Def Jam happen again. No way. In this new world of media, he was going to own his stuff. He was going to be in control.
And his breakup with Spotify is the perfect example of this. You had the platform, Spotify, wanting to own his show, his IP, everything. And then you had Budden, who demanded total control. It was non-negotiable. So, with a massive amount of money on the table, we're talking a reported fortune, he made the biggest gamble of his life. He walked away from it all to bet on himself.
And guess what? That bet paid off. Big time. This is where Budden finishes that transformation from the angry, frustrated artist to a true independent power player. His commentary, totally outspoken, completely unfiltered, it got so influential that people started calling him the Howard Stern of hip-hop.
And his media career has been one controversy after another. I mean, from that super tense interview with Migos to the public on-air meltdown of his own podcast with his old co-hosts Rory and Mal, his secret is that he navigates all of it by turning his own life into content. He just completely blurs that line between what's personal drama and what's entertainment for the rest of us.
So today, his business isn't just one thing. It's a whole operation. The podcast is the main engine, and that powers his whole independent network on Patreon. But a massive piece of his brand, of his identity now, is being this fierce champion for creator ownership. He uses his microphone to warn the new kids coming up about the exact same traps that he fell into all those years ago.
So why does any of this matter? Well, because Joe Budden's story, going from a casualty of the record label system to a self-made media boss, it's more than just his story. It could be a playbook for how to survive, how to reinvent yourself, and maybe how to take the power back from the big companies and give it to the creators. He says he's still out there looking for that next untapped crevice, which really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Is his path, this messy, controversial, independent path, the new blueprint for what success looks like for creators?